I have it all here, all the notes, all the drama, all of the tea on Into the Blue. I think I'm going to be talking for a while, so grab a snack, settle in, and let's get into it. By the way, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you're here. Today, I'm going to be talking about and reviewing Into the Blue by Emma Brodie. As you saw, I took a lot of notes while reading this book, and I have a lot to say, and I'm really excited to kind of get into every single thing that I thought while reading this book. If you don't know, Into the Blue is a love story, as it says on the cover. It's a romance that spans about 15 years. From the award-winning author of Songs in Ursa Major comes an epic, decade-spanning love story that blazes through the worlds of acting and comedy and charts a connection so powerful it might just break space and time itself. In the summer of 2000, AJ Graves dreams of writing for Saturday Night Live. Instead, she's stuck working in a video rental store with slim odds of escaping her small Massachusetts town. Then in walks Noah Drew, the enigmatic and intense scion of the Drew acting dynasty, and her life changes forever. Despite wildly different upbringings, the two forge a deep cosmic bond, first as friends, then as acting partners, until one day, Noah disappears without a word. 7 years later, in New York City, AJ is shocked to find herself cast in the same intergalactic TV production as Noah, by then a well-known Hollywood heartthrob. As their on-screen characters grow closer every day, the lines between reality and acting begin to blur. Unable to stay away from each other, AJ and Noah are forced to confront the truth of what happened years ago and the devastating secret that will send their lives careening apart even as fate continues to draw them together. Blending unforgettable characters, explosive chemistry, and profound yearning, Into the Blue is a journey unlike any other, one that asks, what does it mean to diverge from the script to forge your own story? In my own words, Into the Blue is about AJ Graves and Noah Drew. Love at first sight, essentially, but due to unknown circumstances that eventually will be known, Noah separates himself from the situation and they end up coincidentally meeting each other, a few years later, after a few years later. They secretly like it, but they pretend they don't, also for reasons to be known. The things that I disliked most about this novel was the dialogue / the characters' voices, the over-narrating, and never giving AJ, the main character as we know, her own room to breathe. I thought the first half was not very great, not very entertaining. The second half was more entertaining, but because we didn't build a lot in the first half, it kind of made the second half just not as good as it could have been if we spent more time building things in the first half. So I guess we will get into that now. As I showed you earlier, I have all of my notes here. I'm literally gonna go essentially bullet point by bullet point. I want to go through every single thought I had while reading this book with you because I think that's gonna be fun and important if you're wondering about this book. And also, if I do say so myself, it's gonna kind of show off a little bit of my editing skills. Not all of my editing skills, because a lot of these are maybe just petty complaints. But as someone who edits stories, I think it's important to show off how I read. Into the Blue is told in 4 parts. So, part 1, we're in the year 2000. We meet, essentially, our main character, AJ Graves, who is supposed to go to college for sports, but then she got an injury and she's kind of bummed out about that. Obviously, she's working at a video store, and very soon after, we meet Noah Drew, who comes from a family of actors, and the story kicks off from there. Okay, so at the video store that AJ works at, she has the manager, supervisor, whose name is Storm. Now, Storm is a trans woman, and the way that the author kind of describes this character Storm in comparison to almost every other character, because I feel like there's a couple other characters that don't get the love, and I think they may sort of be minorities as well, or, you know, marginalized. I'm going to compare the way that Storm is described with the way that Noah is described. Emma Brodie writes to describe Storm in one sentence. She says, "A slender trans woman in her 40s. She had long burgundy hair and nails to match." That's all Storm gets. That's all she gets. Noah, while I know he is our main love interest, still pay attention. Like, Storm could have gotten a little bit more. In my mind, I feel like she just wanted to, like, get over, like, you know, Storm, while she's not a main character, you know, she could have perhaps put more effort into describing her, and described her with more than what essentially makes her, you know, marginalized, right? A slender trans woman in her 40s, you know, that's it. Like, it's giving, I just needed to add a marginalized character for diversity, you know what I mean? This is how she describes Noah. An extremely tall young man, dressed head to toe in black, with jet black hair that hung shaggily about his broad shoulders and scowling black eyebrows. His overall vibe screamed villain, except his eyes, dark and expressive and surprisingly lovely for such an intimidating person. To be completely honest, I think that's more than how, like, AJ is described. Having finished this book, I still do not really know what AJ looks like, which is crazy to me. Like, I'm not sure if maybe I missed it and it was kind of hidden in there. Like, maybe she also got, like, a couple sentences. But Noah is, like, constantly described, like, what he's wearing, you know, how he looks, how big his hands are, or whatever. And it's kind of interesting that her female characters and her marginalized characters don't have as much care. So that was the very first thing that I noticed, and I thought, I was like, should I really be being this picky? And I was like, you know what, I have the thought, let me write it down. And it turned out that, again, a couple other marginalized or minority characters also weren't given the same love, and possibly AJ herself. All right, so next, so AJ Graves' father, Jack, who is, like, basically an alcoholic, right? I'm not sure if this is the correct word. Probably is, but not sure. It might be something like adjacent to abuse, but he essentially, sometimes when he has too much to drink, he, like, takes it out on the kids. What type of abuse? I'm not sure, whether it be physical or emotional, whatever. But the way that Emma Brodie writes this character is just very interesting, and interesting, like, in a bad way. AJ has a little brother, Mike. It's, like, talking about Mike here, and Mike is playing video games at the dinner table. And Emma writes, he, as in Mike, was the most likely to set off their father. And I just think that's a weird way to write it, because when you are a victim, it is not your fault, right? So it's very weird how she, like, writes as if it is Mike's fault that his dad doesn't know how to handle his emotions, you know what I mean? And that also comes up later. So there's a lot of things that this book makes me wonder about Emma. And then there's also another one on page 15. Let's see. His rages, the dad, though rare, were terrifying, enough to keep the family in check. Like, whoa, enough to keep the family in check. That's also very interesting, because, like, in check, like, I just don't like the way she wrote that, is all. Because, again, like, you know. So then, AJ, essentially, and Noah, they've been working at the video store for a little bit, and all of a sudden, like, you know, because AJ can't drive because of her injury, and one of the other siblings can't take the brother, which I think is Mike, to their, like, Astronauticals meeting, which Astronauticals is the show that AJ is obsessed with. She watches it while at work, and she writes Astronauticals fan fiction at work. So that's AJ. That describes AJ a little bit. As a 17-year-old, that's what she does. And yeah. Oh, well, while we're talking about it, Noah is like in like college. He's college aged. I think he's 3 to 4 years older than AJ. So AJ is 17 right now, by the way. Keep that in mind, because we're definitely going to talk about that later. But essentially, like, the little brother Mike is like, I want to go to the meeting, like, and AJ's like, I don't think I can take you. You know, I'm injured. I can't drive. And then Noah is like, I'll take you guys. Do you know how weird that is? Like, first of all, they've been working with each other for I don't even know how long. Like, days, maybe a week at this point. Maybe, like, very little time. And then again, AJ is 17 and he's like inserting himself. He's like, Noah is inserting himself. He's like, I could take you guys. Like, I want to hang out with you guys. Weird. So I thought that was really weird how, no, like, not even just because he's like older, like maybe he just really wanted to help out, right? But at the same time, he hasn't known these people for very long. Like, it's weird. And essentially, kind of almost like, again, love at first sight, crush at first sight. And we don't get to see any of this happen, by the way. It's just like, we've been working with each other for a week, and we're getting along better now. And then it's like, I'll take you to this meeting, even though we're like barely friends. Like, it's just also just weird for someone to like volunteer themselves into somebody's life like that, in my personal opinion. I wrote exactly, especially because AJ described them as having a tentative friendship because they watched and laughed over a few episodes of Astronauticals. Time we didn't even get to spend with them in these moments. We were just told about that. So essentially, the narrator, Emma, she was just writing everything. She was just like, they laughed together, and then next thing you know, Noah's like, I'll take you to this meeting, to this club. Okay, whatever. And I also wrote, I'm wishing we got to see AJ fall into her crush for Noah instead of her already having a crush. It makes me feel disconnected from her emotions, which makes it feel not genuine and unbelievable. When 28 pages in and we have a line, either he was in love with her or he was really good at acting. So how could Noah be in love with her after 28 pages, after spending minimal time with her at work? So, like, we're already bringing up love, because I guess Noah's being really nice, and just, like, you know, I'm sorry, that just does not work for me, especially when we don't see it happen. We're just told that it happens, and we don't see them interacting at all. We are told that they interact, and that is just a no-go. Like, you cannot write like that. It's not conducive to your readers really falling in love with your characters. That was just my first day reading, by the way. That was pages 9 through 30. And now we're going to be moving to pages 30 through 41. All right. Oh gosh, I hate this so much. The continuous descriptions of Noah's size. This is, I made this note on page 31, and I'm already tired. He was big, he was tall, he was big, like, and I know other people hate that too. So if you don't like that, that appears in this book. I will say it does lessen a little bit, but it's still there nonetheless. Now, when Noah took AJ and Mike, I think it is, to the meeting, which is like, again, like, I don't know exactly what it is, but they talk about astronauticals there. It just so happens that Noah's aunt stars in astronauticals, right? So Noah, AJ, and Mike are at this fan club type thing meeting, and they have like this convention or whatever planned, and they've reached out to Noah's aunt, Eudora, and Eudora did not respond. So Mike says to Noah, hey Noah, maybe you can ask your aunt who lives in town. So Noah's like, okay, we can ask her. And then that makes AJ feel some kind of way that Noah said we. So anyway, they pull up to Eudora's big mansion and Eudora agrees to do this thing on one condition, and the condition being that they act together. She's like, Eudora's like, I will go to this convention meeting thing if you, AJ Graves, and you, Noah Drew, if you two train as actors with me. Random and weird. Random and weird. Eudora has her reasons, but they're also random and weird. Random and weird. I don't know how else to say that, but yeah. I was just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. Even after reading the book, I'm still like, no. I still don't feel like there's motivation for that. So anyway, Noah's pissed off because he doesn't want to be an actor. And AJ is like really wanting to make an impression on this club. So she's like, yes, I want to do this. Please do this. And so that's how they end up acting with Eudora for the summer. And Eudora, well, wait, let's see. Let's see if I have anything else before I move on to what happens next. Because, again, so much to write. Okay, so that was another section of reading. So now we're on pages 41 to 64, if you're following along at home. Okay, this is when I started to realize that there is something off about the dialogue. I said that it's cheesy and it needs more work. And eventually I figure out that it's just that the characters don't have their own voices. Well, that's part of the problem. They all speak the same, and yeah, again, like, it just needs work. There's no subtext at all. And I'm going to give you examples. I will be giving you examples. There's no subtext. They're all, and it's like, honestly, it's like, it feels like, the dialogue feels like a conversation like a robot would like have with you, like Siri, like a robot. And I don't mean like, not like ChatGPT. I literally mean like a robot that's not programmed with like OpenAI, I guess. Like, it was giving very stiff, robotic, cheesy, just off dialogue. So that's how I felt about the dialogue. And then I'm also realizing at this point that I don't feel that there's going to be a story here. So this is not a character-driven novel. It's not. It's trying to be, sort of, I think, but it is not fully a character-driven novel. I feel like it's more plot-heavy. Or not more plot-heavy, but the plot is, like, takes a significant part of the story, like the acting and, like, I think it's trying to be character-driven, but it's not quite getting there. So essentially, it's like, it's okay if there's like less of a story, less of a plot, if it is character-driven, but the characters are so surface level, so like underdeveloped, and the narrator takes care of explaining every moment instead of letting the characters actually live out those moments, that it fails to be that, you know? So I wrote specifically, there's no story, just a sequence of events happening. No goals, no stakes, no purpose for all of this. This is the most common issue I see in these newer stories. And I don't think it's exactly that. Like, I have to figure out exactly what it is. But there's like this combination of like the lowest of the low stakes and not enough going on. And I see it, you know, not just in like books, but in screenplays as well. It's just this weird combination of things, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like a new thing, and that's why maybe there's not a name for it, because I studied writing. I have a bachelor's degree in writing, so I'm not sure. But it was just like so. I was like, kind of, where is the story going? I did want to, at this point, like start like thinking about DNFing it, but I knew that it was important that I completed a book, and I wanted to make content from this book. I bought it specifically so I could have content, because I'm getting serious about this content creation thing. So I was like, I have to read it. Like, I spent the money. I bought it from an independent bookstore. I don't want to return it because, you know, I wanted to support the independent bookstore, so I didn't want to return it. So I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm going to read it. And so I kept reading, but I did want to DNF. And you know what? That says something very important. Like, I know, you know those like shorts and reels and TikToks that you see that says wait till the end? Be honest, and I will be surprised if this is the case, but how often do you actually stay till the end? You want to, but how often do you do? If you often stay to the end, I guess good on you. Maybe you have good patience, but also at the end, do you think it was worth staying to the end? That's also the question. But a minute-long TikTok, 45-second TikTok is not the same as a 430-page book, right? There's a much more, there's a bigger time commitment here, and you just can't make like itty-bitty tiny like things happen at the beginning and expect that to be enough to have enough people read till the end. Like, you're creating art, like make us want to like actually be there. Like, don't, the thing is, you just like, you want people to enjoy your book, so make it enjoyable from the beginning, is all I have to say. Add enough there at the beginning to where people aren't just waiting for the end. That's my message. Okay. And, okay, finally. So as I told you earlier, there's a little age gap going on. Finally, Patrick, AJ's older brother, Patrick brings up the age gap. He was saying what all of us were thinking. He was like, isn't it weird? He's like 21 or whatever. Yeah. Wait, 21? 20 or 21, I guess. Like, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Emma, for letting us know that at least you know that that's a little weird. He was like, if I was that old, I wouldn't be hanging out with high schoolers. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. And then AJ was in denial. She was like, he doesn't like me. We're just friends. Friends or not. Weird. Okay. Now, what is next? Ooh, okay. I have a quote here on page 58. Page 58. This has a little bit to do with her writing. Oh my gosh, by the way, it's been half an hour. I hope you guys aren't bored. Like, wow. If you're still here, wow. You're a real one, and if you're not subscribed, you should be. Okay. Page 58. Their bond had grown so strong. Had it now. Their bond had grown so strong. They often locked into each other's emotions outside of acting. For example, when Noah wandered into the store on his off night, AJ felt his energy, frenetic as the air before a thunderstorm, and knew he had come to forget whatever had happened that day. You know, I feel like if you were doing a good job telling the story, you would not have to write their bond had grown so strong. Am I right or am I right? If you were doing a good job writing, you would not have to write that. Or if you were not trying to spoon feed your audience, you wouldn't have to write that, right? Newsflash, we're not all dumb, especially people who are picking up books to read. We are not dumb. We are not stupid. Making books where you spoon feed the reader is just going to feed in the stupidification of, did I say that right even? Look at me. The stupidification of things and our minds. So don't spoon feed your audience if you are thinking about writing. Oh, this is probably like my favorite thing, honestly. My most favorite thing that I caught as a reader. I'm very proud of it. And it has to do with the use of the word follower. I did count it a little late, but remember when I said that AJ writes fan fiction? So on her little fan fiction page, Emma writes her readers as followers. She calls them followers. And follower, according to my research, and if you find something different, please inform me because I'm curious, it wasn't really a term until Twitter came in the year 2006. And remember, we're in the year 2000. So how could AJ Graves have followers? I want to know, Emma. So why? Why is this term being used when this takes place in 2000? I'm just saying, I want to know. So if you find something, do let me know. I also think Emma struggles with redundant writing. This is, again, where I start to write about the narrative style. I said, I dislike the narrative style. She is literally narrating the story. Oh, this is going to be my favorite part, y'all. Okay, so let's see. In the days that followed. Okay, so here is something that she does. Like, there are no chapters, and so there are just, like, I guess, scene breaks, and here you can see that she, like, has headers with the scene when the scene starts, and most of the time it's like 3 days later or something like that. So listen to this. She does this so much. So we have on page 59, in the days that followed, and then on page 60, we have a few evenings later, midway through July. On page 61, we have that Saturday. So are the days that important? After reading this, I don't think so. Like, what happened to the scenes? Also, oh, yeah. A lot of these don't move, like, the story along, which is also annoying. So it's like, how important is it that you're, like, putting, like, 3 days later? And whatever happens 3 days later doesn't even matter. So that's really annoying. And then something that also happens, we are now on to pages 64 to 83, which, okay, get this. So, as I told you, Noah, AJ, and Eudora are training. They are acting together, like, every day, essentially. And then one day Noah says, my mom wants to meet you. What? Y'all are not even dating. You're not dating. You're just a friend. Why does Noah's mom want to meet AJ? Tell me that's not weird. These characters in this world are weird. That's all I have to say. Like, just things that would not happen, I feel like. very often in like reality, real life, IRL. For some reason, Noah's mom wants to meet AJ. Okay, weird. Noah's mom is in the hospital. And apparently, I guess Noah has mentioned AJ a few times. So I guess Noah's mom was like, I want to meet her. Let me tell you how that interaction goes. Let me tell you. So first of all, whatever. It's really weird. It's really weird that I think that, like, Noah's mom wants to meet AJ. But, like, I can get over it. Maybe it makes sense because maybe Noah is talking about her and Noah's eyes are lighting up while he's talking about AJ. So, cool. This is how it goes. First of all, they get into the hospital, and I don't like the way that Emma describes it. It's just it's lacking richness in the description. She just says, Simmons, the hospital, was an industrial matrix of antiseptic hulls coated in lemon Lysol. Sure, okay. So I'm going to read to you this whole thing, okay? Because I'm like, look. Okay, look. The whole interaction, by the way, is one whole page. Like, imagine if your mom asked to meet one of your friends or your girlfriends. Like, that is a big deal. You wanting to show off a friend or a love interest, whatever, to a family member or another one of your friends. That's a big deal. This interaction is like a page long. So, and then listen, okay. I'm gonna read to you the dialogue. Okay. Hey, Mom, Noah said quietly. Oh, which another thing, by the way, the dialogue tags are out of hands. That's also another problem that Miss Emma has. Hey, Mom, he said quietly. Professor Bell, I'm Noah's friend AJ. Lorraine, please. Like, she's asking to be called Lorraine instead of Professor Bell. She's like saying, Lorraine, please. Call me Lorraine. Noah says you like movies. I do like movies. Maybe you can help Noah. He has terrible taste. He really does, AJ agrees. Hey, said Noah. You're no fun, his mom managed. Noah glowered. I'm fun. Yeah, so that's the whole dialogue of when AJ meets Noah's mom. So remember when I was talking about the dialogue? Yeah. So yeah. No, there's dialogue is supposed to move the plot forward. Dialogue is supposed to move the plot forward or reveal character. 80% of the time. Whatever. That's what the interaction was. Like, what was the point of adding that whole thing in with the mom when you're not even going to write about it? And then that's all the dialogue that there is. That's all. That's all the dialogue. And then, of course, in Emma Brodie fashion, they left half an hour later. Okay, because could you imagine watching a movie and every time the day switched, there's there's a thing on the screen that says how many hours, how many days have passed, right across big on the screen, as if that's relevant. Maybe in a certain kind of story it's relevant. Maybe, and I know that there are stories where that's relevant. This isn't one of them. So, and then, wow, they left half an hour later, and then on the next page, the day before the astronauticals panel, look, right across from each other. it's just weird. And I don't like it. So yeah, that's how the interaction with the mother went. Like, that scene was like so useless. It literally did nothing. It did not do like anything. It did not like move the plot forward. It did not reveal character. Neither did the dialogue. It was pretty useless as a scene. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And then, you know what else she does as a writer? This, I think, again, maybe got better, or maybe I just got, you know, accustomed to it. But she also writes like this was like very particularly bad, as, you know, like me saying like, and if you noticed. Okay, so I brought up the dialogue tags. So these are a bit of the dialogue tags and also just like the starts of sentences on page 59. This is just page 59, okay? AJ breathed. AJ understood. AJ moved forward. AJ surged forward. AJ thought. AJ felt. AJ ignored. AJ felt again. And AJ kept on page 59. And if you do not believe me, I will show you, because that's like pretty ridiculous, right? But I will hold this up and you can pause, you can read, hopefully it's clear enough, and I'll insert a picture if I have to. And then guess what? On page 66, AJ could feel, AJ was relieved, AJ smiled nervously, AJ laughed in delight, AJ giggled, AJ and Noah froze, AJ pulled a chair, AJ had been, AJ could feel again, right? So what happened to showing and not telling is what I wrote. Describing, not explaining. Where are the descriptions? I want to know what things look, feel, sound, smell, and taste like. And I feel like we don't get any of that in her writing. And so I will also show you page 66 if you do not believe me. It's all on one page. Imagine reading that over and over and over and over, and then seeing it again on like 5 pages later, over and over and over and over and over again. It was a pain to get through this book. I am not kidding. Oh my God. Okay, so remember how I'm talking about that was all that they had in the interaction at the hospital. So on page 67, like on the page after what happened, apparently Emma, I wrote, why are you telling us what had happened at the hospital when you could have written it happening at the hospital? So I guess she just gives a breakdown of what happened at the hospital. Yep, they left half an hour later after a lively discussion about films. During the visit, AJ had been so focused on understanding what Lorraine was saying and treating blah, 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 blah. Why did she just not write? Is it because she's bad at dialogue? Emma, it's okay. It's okay. You can just write and rewrite until you get it right. You don't have to just tell us what happened when you could have just written it happening and them actually interacting. I wonder, maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's insecure with her dialogue, and so that's she turns to narration instead. I wonder. No matter, I don't think it's the best narrative tool, and not my favorite, not my style. Okay, what did I write next? Let's see. They had been skirting this line for so long. Had they? Question mark. Oh, okay. So at the astronautical panel, spoiler review, by the way. I will be spoiling things. They kiss, and I was like, oh, brother. They're kissing now? What line had they been skirting? Because I hadn't been experiencing anything. And that's what is wrong partially with this whole narrating, writing style. We need to actually be there to experience it, not just be told that it is happening. Otherwise, it's not real. Picks or it didn't happen, right? Okay, now we're on to the next one. the next like reading day, pages 83 to 90. Slow day, huh? Oh, and then that's the end of part 1. Okay. Woohoo. Okay, here's a really weird line that I did not like. So at this point, Noah has disappeared, right? They had this kiss. He doesn't show up to work the next day. Of course, men. What else are you going to expect, right? So she says, like, she's waiting for like Noah to call or something. Emma writes, and the hours slipped by like used Kleenex. AJ fell into a pit of anxiety. So not only did I not like this line, because how do hours slip by like a used Kleenex? I fear there might be a typo in here. It's in the hours slipped by like used Kleenex, comma, AJ fell into a pit of anxiety. Either there needs to be another comma and maybe an A after like a used Kleenex, or is Kleenex already plural? Is it not Kleenexes? Otherwise, I guess that, that makes sense. And as the hours slipped by, comma, like used Kleenex, comma, AJ fell into a pit of anxiety. Like, it doesn't make sense, the sentence. As the hours slipped by, like use Kleenex. So AJ fell into a pit of anxiety like a used Kleenex, or or were the used Kleenexes that's how the hours were slipping by? What are the Kleenex referring to? AJ or the hours? I'm not sure. This one comma is not doing it for me. I guess because of the one comma, as the hours slipped by like used Kleenex. Oh, okay, this is me. I can't read. Okay, so the hours were slipping by like used Kleenex, which doesn't make sense to me. I'm confused. And then AJ fell into a pit of anxiety. Is it me, or is that like an actual expression, like time slips by like a used Kleenex? Wild. That's the end of part 1. Actually, can I just talk about how I described part 1, the summary? Not good. I don't feel connected to the characters. I don't like AJ, nor am I invested in her story. The first 90 pages can unfortunately be summed up as: girl meets boy, boy and girl spend time together, boy kisses girl, boy disappears. 90 pages, and that's all that has happened. Now, it's been a freaking hour. Now, I know each section is not going to be an hour, but like I feel like I need a break because I don't have any back support. So I'm gonna stop this clip, and I'm gonna see you for part 2. Okay, I took a short break, finished my milkshake, drank some water. We're back with part 2 of Into the Blue. I hope you enjoyed your intermission as well. Okay, now we're pages 93 to 104. What do I have to say? Let's see. There's a line on page 93 that says, "We've just got no story." Oh, let me tell you. Wait. Let me not jump into it. I have to set the scene. I have to set the mood. All right. The year is now 2007. 7 years later. AJ is working for like HGTV. She's got a job in like scripted reality on some house show, right? She's got a job at HGTV. Her boss, she's editing something, and her boss says, "We've just got no story here." And you know what I thought of that? I was like, Emma, are you making something a little meta? That's how I felt. I was like, I know. I get it. I know how it is when there's just no story. Was she poking fun at herself? Was she saying, I know that's what you're thinking, but just you wait. I'm about to kick it into gear. I'm curious. Or maybe she wasn't. Maybe it was just a happy accident. I don't know. Emma. listen. So she's working at HGTV, and then they're talking about a strike might happen. Then a strike does happen. And then they're like, well, because we're like not writers, or we are writers, what are the rules? Whatever. I don't know. Because it's not like scripted television or whatever. If it's not scripted, because the writers, I guess it was the writers that were going on strike, not SAG, the Writers Guild of America, or whatever it's called. They were going on strike, right? So the writers were going on strike. AJ, 7 years ago, she got some training in acting and improvisation. And essentially what happens is the strike ends up happening, and then they get an opportunity to shoot a prequel to Astronauticals called Into the Blue. And they do it during the strike because they're going to make the show improv, so they don't need writers. Emma. That is not a necessary thing that needs to happen in order for them to shoot an improv show. That does not have to be the impetus. It does not have to be the impetus. So I do wonder why she put that in there, and none of the characters seem to have any remorse about filming during a strike and not being or striking in solidarity, right? Even though they're not technically writers, in solidarity, hence in solidarity, right? So I'm really curious about that. Why she felt the need to do that, write it like that, and not have any of the characters comment on the possible wrongdoings of making a show while writers are on strike, and for probably for a good reason. So that I did not like. I do not like it. And it's concerning me. Moving on. On page 111. Let me look. So it is, as I said, they're shooting a prequel to Astronauticals, which is a intergalactic kind of space kind of show, right? I don't have notes here about it yet, but Noah's going to be on the show too, to AJ's surprise. She did not know that was going to happen. It was a surprise to her. And it was mentioned pretty quickly, although I may not have mentioned it in my notes. But one thing that I did also have a complaint about, which I guess I did tell you earlier, is about AJ as the main character not having enough room to breathe. We fast forward 7 years later, and within however many pages, Noah's back into the mix. Who is AJ now? What does she look like? How is she different? Blah, 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 blah. All we know is that she works at HGTV now, and that she's going to be in a show. And with Noah, I guess they're back into each other's lives. AJ is not happy to see Noah because, well, he just disappeared on her. Without a word, without a trace. And her aunt, his aunt, Eudora couldn't tell AJ anything, or rather didn't. We don't find out that she couldn't until later. Sorry. But on page 111, I guess I should delete this, editor Kayla, because that does not make any sense about the one line. Oh, AJ's character had a single paragraph. I guess in comparison to everybody else, Anna Tar had a single paragraph of background, and that kind of just also reminded me how Storm had a single sentence. And so, I don't know, Emma, what's up with that? So that's disrespectful, I guess. Justice for all the characters that did not get proper and good descriptions. Okay, I feel like my energy is dropping here, but I got this. What? Oh my god, guys, I fast forwarded. I skipped literally two bullet points. I don't know how I did that. Let me go back to page 108. Like my least favorite line in the entire book. So this is when Noah is like in the same like room as Noah again, and she's like finding out that they're gonna be together. After all this time, she could still feel him, still scent him like a dog with its master. Ew. And like sent him? Really? I'm also realizing AJ doesn't have a want, a need, or a desire. She doesn't have anything, and it truly impacts the story, obviously. And while the reader knows and understands that she wants Noah, a good story cannot operate if the reader has to help tell it. And at this point, it's like, I feel like part one was like, I was angry. And then in part two, I was just disappointed because then I start to write. I just said that this is a great idea, but like a bad execution of the idea. So like, this is the part where I start to kind of like see what the story is and start to like it, start to fall in love with it. But then start to get like disappointed that the story is not reaching its full potential, because I was like, this is definitely a story I could definitely love and admire and adore, but it just was not fleshed out enough and the writing was just not to par. So I said I appreciate the idea of when she acts with him, they go into another place, but it would be able to be felt more with a proper setup, etc. I like the undeniable connection, but it was never there. So like, yes, they have an undeniable connection, but it was never like built. The connection that they have, it was never built. There's no, there's no foundation. Part one should have been the foundation, but there really wasn't a foundation. It was like AJ Graves likes Noah Drew. That was the foundation that we got. And now here they are on this show together and they're acting and they're like being all like in love and confessing their story through the dialogue. But it's just like, where was that in part one? Like, even though they acted together in part one, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. Like, just a lot of missed opportunities here. A lot of missed opportunities. Moving on to pages 135 to 166. This is when I start to realize, which I may have mentioned before, but this is when I noted it, that all the characters have the same voice. So the story is much less dynamic, and it's very static, flat, boring, lacking emotion. In all caps, stale, exclamation point. It just like sucks so bad. And this is also where, again, I'm disappointed. I'm no longer angry. I'm just disappointed because, as you know, the book promises to go into the world of comedy, and what it truly is, essentially, like the comedy, is kind of like a backdrop to these boring relationships. And I call them boring because, again, we don't get to see them. We're just told about them. These boring relationships between people. AJ asks M how he came up with the Bible for the show Into the Blue. And instead of getting to hear M himself talk about it even a little, we get Emma Brodie cutting in, narrating. Here it is. So again, AJ asks him, how did you come up with all of the world building, right? So we're supposed to be in the world of comedy and acting and all of that. And she says, the Bible is amazing. M gave her a sly grin. This may be a shock to you, but I was a very nerdy child. He says, AJ laughed, and he launched into an explanation of his process, his sources of inspiration, and methodology. He was so articulate and self-effacing and brilliant. AJ privately wished she could have recorded the conversation to study later on. So tell me why you are writing that instead of putting it through dialogue. I want to hear M talk about it, not you sum it up and give us nothing, right? He launched into an explanation of his process, his sources of inspiration and methodology. I'm sorry, are you supposed to take us through the world of acting or not? Are you supposed to take us through that world? What is it? The worlds of acting and comedy. No, I'm sorry, I don't think so. Methodology. He was so articulate. Can you like let him speak so I can hear how articulate he is? Like, I would like to hear it come from M. And so through that little explanation, we still don't get anything. We still don't get to pick M's brain. We still don't know how he came up with the story Bible. We still do not know how he came up with all of the characters, all of the world building and everything. We still don't know. But we're supposed to just believe that it was brilliant. We're just supposed to believe it because Emma Brodie told us so. Okay, sure. I disliked that so much. And I said, maybe the reader is interested in that, especially because that's what you promised, all of these pages, and a promise, and we don't get to hear himself speak about his world that he built. And then also the world of comedy, but somehow have not laughed yet. And I know it's not a comedy. I know the book is not a comedy, but like, I haven't laughed yet. And you think at least if you were taking us through the world of comedy, I would at least have laughed already. And then also the world of acting. But no one is talking about the art of it or how it feels to portray a character. I want to know what it is like to be an actor. If you're saying you're going to take us through the world of acting, I want someone to talk about the art of acting. This is giving very lazy writing, very lazy storytelling, and I cannot stand lazy storytelling at all. All right, now we're on pages 167 to 205. On page 171, Noah and AJ share their second kiss. I do believe this kiss is while they are like acting, so technically it does not count. It's between their two characters, not between them. Okay, this is also a really funny part, just about how I do not like the writing, and her narrating is overbearing. So, I don't know. I think they're at a get-together, right? A party, whatever. And then Emma writes, she, AJ, chatted with them for 5 minutes, then withdrew to her room. She chatted with them for 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Okay, why do we need to know that she chatted for 5 minutes with them? And then why do you have to say that? Can we just move on to her room? Like, I don't understand. She chatted for 5 more minutes. Like, whoa. Okay, do you know what else had happened? M, like the producer of the show, whatever, he was about to make a move on AJ, and then of course Noah came to save the day. Noah came looking for her. But do you want to know what's crazy? AJ apologized to M for having to get up and go. She was like, sorry, I'm gonna go with Noah now. She's like, sorry, whoa. She was about to get taken advantage of. M was about to put his hand on her, and she's apologizing to him. And then, mind you, it was never brought up again. Noah never said don't apologize, or I'm sorry that that happened to you. That's just another thing that Emma so sus. Just in the beginning, with the dad who she's it's Mike's fault for triggering the dad, when it's really the dad who doesn't know how to manage his drinking or his emotions, right? And now she's focusing on other things after she just almost experienced something very traumatic, and they're not going to talk about it, or she let AJ apologize to this man. I'm just really confused about Emma. I know I will not be picking up any more of her books. That much I do know, but I'm just so confused about the writing. Later on, that was page 187. So I guess now we're on page 200. So not too much like longer after. I'm sure maybe the next day or something. But guess what? Finally, guess what? AJ and Noah, they do the do. And the best writing Emma has done yet. So to that, I said, clearly, she just wants to write spicy scenes. Clearly, that is what she's wanting to do. That is what she came for. And I wonder why she just did not focus on a book where maybe there was more spicy scenes. That's what I was wondering about. But you know what she did after her wonderfully written, I would say, like especially in comparison to the rest of the book, her wonderfully written spicy scene, she said, as they were like laying in the bed together, they stayed like that for a long time. They stayed like that for a long time. That took me just out. It took me out of the story. They stayed like that for a long time. And you want to know what's worse? I will tell you what is worse. They do have sex again, like later, in part 4. And she wrote after the scene, they stayed like that for a long moment. Okay, so that's 2. And then you want to know what happens? She gets one right. She says, after they lay side by side. It's a little better. I like it. And then the next time they have sex, they lay together for an indeterminate amount of time. So we have, they lay together for an indeterminate amount of time. They stayed like that for a long moment. And they stayed like that for a long time. Sheesh. Sheesh. All right. And that's the end of part 2. I will go ahead and read you what I said in the summary. It's years later and AJ gets an opportunity to work on a prequel for Astronauticals with unexpectedly Noah. It ultimately leads them to picking up where they left off and end up like consummating in the end. I assume this will keep happening. I like the pattern, but I hate the writing. Prediction. Either he doesn't... Oh my gosh! I never told you! Okay, so in part 2, he must have explained. Because I said either he doesn't get Huntington's disease by their last meeting and they live happily ever after, or he does and she takes care of him and loves him, blah, 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 blah. So, I never told you, why did Noah leave? Noah left because they found out that his mom had Huntington's disease, and then Noah got tested for it because he can see if he's gonna like have the genes to get it, and they were like, yeah, you're gonna end up getting it, you have the genes, and that's why he ran away. He ran away because he was like, I'm not gonna be a normal person, I'm not gonna live a normal life, I'm gonna end up like, I like AJ, I like you, but if I let you fall in love with me, then in the end it will have been selfish, blah, blah, blah. So that's why he ran away. So yeah, I'm glad I got to tell you. So now on to part 3, which is 2011, and my battery is like low. So I am going to see if I can plug up my phone for a little bit so I can talk about part 3. And then part 4, oh my God, guys, I'm exhausted. I just checked, I'm on 17%. So I'm on 17%. I'm on 17%. So if I talk quickly, then maybe I could get through it. Look, we are here. The ending is 1, 2, here. So 2 flips. Let's see if we can do this. This first set of notes, pages 209 to 244. Okay, so I said, wow, we made it a whole 14 words before Noah's name appears again. What about AJ, huh? Who is she? Who is she? How has she changed? What does she look like now? Because we're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 years later, and 14 words before Noah's name appears again. Like, can we spend some time with AJ, our main character, like by herself? Can we actually see what she's living like? where her head is at, like just a little bit. Like, could we get like a chapter's worth of words before Noah ever appears again? Like, please, like, I just want to know who AJ is. Like, at this point, like I said, I don't even know what she looks like, what she sounds like, anything, because she is always with Noah. And you can say something about that as like that's what the book is, like they just have like this connection, but I don't know how I feel about that being like sort of like metaphorical. It's just, it doesn't, it can still like AJ was by herself for 4 years, so what about representing that? How about giving a little time to representing all the time AJ was by herself? Because of course, after Into the Blue ended, they went their separate ways. They had a little spicy moment, and that was it. That was it. They had a little spicy moment, and then it was like at the end of filming, towards the end of filming, and then they said goodbye to each other. Right? Never spoke for 4 years, right? And it's a whole 14 words before he's mentioned again. And then, after I complained about that, we ended up getting a little bit information on what AJ had been up to, but the majority of it, 2/3 I wrote, we already knew. So, must have been something from back in the day. Now, she also has a boyfriend. The boyfriend's name is Brian. The reason why she has a boyfriend is because I think she saw, because Noah's acting now, she saw that Noah had a girlfriend. And so AJ is like, well, I need to get a boyfriend because he has a girlfriend. So she gets a boyfriend, Brian. He's a good guy, but he drinks a little too much, like AJ is drinking now. So on her way to end up like her father, essentially, just because she doesn't have her drug Noah to keep her, you know, like sane. I don't know. I should let you know that it's 2011 also, which you do know, but she's working for SNL now, by the way. So she has gotten her dream job, and that's why Noah's name appeared, because guess who is going to be a guest on SNL? Noah. Because he's acting now, he's doing the little acting thing, and he's up for an Oscar, which he does not win, by the way. He wins his second Oscar. He wins his second nomination, though. He wins it. So don't you worry. Noah gets what he needs in the end. Or like not what he needs, but what he wants. Are you guys tired of me yet? Because I'm tired. Not of myself, but of like sitting like this. And it's so late. Okay, it is also on page 235, is like the first time that I laughed in the book. Because Noah's doing like the intro to like the opening monologue for SNL. And then he like calls AJ on stage as the Into the Blue character she played, Anna. Noah played Ro. Just so you know, that might come up later. But he's calling her to the stage, and they do this whole improv thing, and it was super heartwarming. And then, like, the cue card guys are like, or the, whoever's by the camera is like, wrap it up. And then they, like, do the thing, and they're like, live from New York, it's Saturday night. And I was like, that's cute. Because I used to watch SNL, so I don't know. I felt something there. The first time, you know. But right soon after that, I think after like during the after party, they have a fight. Boo-hoo. Okay, I have a problem. I have more problems with her writing. On page 243, I was just very confused about this. Essentially, like the phone rings and AJ picks up, and then it's her sister, Libby, and then she says, "It's Pat," in a voice so dull, it chilled AJ's blood. I didn't know that dual voices could chill blood. And first of all, we find out that it's Patrick. He's been in an accident. So why would her voice be dull? Wouldn't it be panicked, scared, sad, or melancholic? I wrote. Why would, like, maybe like she's checked out, like dissociating, but like, I just can't imagine. Like, I just don't, I just don't understand these characters. I just don't understand these characters. And their motivations for saying some things. Because, like, whatever do you mean the voice was dull? Like, your brother has just been in an accident. How's your voice dull? Like, I would be, like, shaking, panicked, scared, sad, all the things, and not, like, dull, you know? But that's just me. That's just me. And Patrick's been in an accident, so AJ goes home, right? The boyfriend, Brian, goes with her. Brian is kicking ass. He's doing such a great job. Like, he is helping the family. He is taking care of everything, everyone. He's stepping up. He's being the man, right? And so he proposes to her. AJ says yes. And I was like, girl, I don't know why you're saying yes. You're still in love with Noah, and you know it. Like, you're still looking him up on computers, sending him emails. Only happened once. And, like, you're obsessed. Like, don't say, you don't even love Brian like that. Like, he's a good guy. And Emily, your other sister, she knows it too. Like, she knows you don't like him. And still you're going to say yes? You're going to accept that ring? That's wild. That's crazy. She says yes. And then, do you want to know what happens? And then, all of a sudden, guess who else is in town when, like, guess who else is in town when AJ goes home? Noah. Noah's in town. And so that's crazy. And then also there's a Twilight reference, which is not funny, but kind of funny until they're sitting in a diner and AJ's having trouble with a ketchup bottle. That just, I was like, okay, you took it too far. Like, you took it too far. Like, you already quoted Twilight, and then you're going to do the ketchup bottle thing. Not okay, not okay, not okay. You only get one pass. You only get one pass, Emma. One pass. Okay, yeah, we are fast forwarding in time because it is at this point where I'm kind of numb to her writing style, so I'm writing less and less and less and less. Look, less and less and less and less I'm writing in comparison to, like, the page before or this page. We have graduated to this, right? I'm getting numb. So I'm not really writing anything. There's some weird things going on with the background characters, their characterization, a little weird. Then finally, AJ makes a move. AJ tells Noah that, like, she wants him, and then guess what? He's like, no, I don't want you. He's lying, of course. He's lying. Of course he wants her. Essentially, he's like, I don't want you to be around when I'm like, the disease starts taking over. And she's like, you need to forget about that. But he's stubborn, and so, yep. And then she gives the ring back to Brian. And do you want to know how that happens? I'll tell you how it happens. So essentially, Brian and AJ have been engaged for a year, right? They've been engaged for a year. They have not been able to, like, set a date for the wedding because they had both been busy that summer. AJ was going to, like, conventions because of the show that she was in, remember, Into the Blue, and then that money she was trying to get for her brother, Patrick. So she was doing that, and then Brian, he travels for work. He, like, is, like, a sports reporter, works for ESPN, whatever. So they've been busy. Eventually Brian's like, it's time that we set a date for a wedding. He's like, my place, Sunday at 9, whatever. So AJ is walking. They live in New York. AJ is walking to Brian's apartment. And then she like walks past a bar that's playing the Oscars. Guess who's nominated? Noah. And she ends up staying at the bar to watch the entire Oscar show. Terrible. Terrible. And finally, after the Oscars, she goes back and gives the ring back to Brian, as she should. Thank God. Am I right? I know I am. Okay. So, yeah. That little last bit was in part 4, but honestly, it kind of was connected to part 3, so I'll do the part 3 summary. Adjusting to the story and writing style, AJ is working at SNL. Her brother Patrick gets sick. in an accident. She gets engaged. She struggles with drinking. She does Into the Blue conventions with Noah. She confesses her interest in him, and he loves the girl and interest in him, and he says that he loves the girl that he's dating. Of course, he's lying. That was my summary. So now we're into part 4, and she gives the ring back to Brian. And I wrote, here we go again. AJ cannot stand alone, evidently, as a character, because I guess Noah was mentioned immediately. One of the reasons is Eudora, Noah's aunt, is dead. She died, and there's going to be like a funeral thing, and AJ and her sister Emily, they attend. Then Noah is like, hey, can you come to like the after thing, the wake, the whatever? AJ's like, okay. She's late. Most people have gone home. She sits for a while, then everyone's gone. It's just him and her. And Noah notices that the ring is gone. She's like, I gave it back. They have a whole conversation. They they get it on. I think she describes it as they go like at each other like animals or something. And they're just, yeah. And then eventually, like, she kind of basically asks, she's like, can you please try, like, let's do this. We can't keep going back and forth. He accepts. Let me see it, because it gets a little sad, but I wish it was better. I'm just trying to go fast because I'm so thirsty and my phone's gonna die. And it's been almost 2 hours. 2 hours. I'm gonna cry. There's some things that I don't like what Noah does. Like, he calls himself a creep, then calls himself a saint, because he's like, you were 17. That's also another reason why I left you. Like, don't call yourself a creep, then call yourself a saint because you left. You're one or the other. And it's like, as a writer, if I want my audience to like have a crush on the MMC, I wouldn't have him calling himself a creep. Like, ew. Okay, let's see. What else? Blah, 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 blah. Is it working? That's funny. Oh, okay. Okay, yes, I could talk to you about it. Okay, so I think one of like the most favorite, like my favorite part, one of my favorite parts, the most emotional thing to happen in this novel, and it is so good. Okay, what happens is, look, listen. So they're living together, right? And they're living together, and Noah's like gonna cook some dinner. He sends AJ to the grocery store. She forgets the list. She turns around to get the list, and what does she walk in on? What does she walk in on? You're probably not gonna guess. With that, I'll give you a couple more seconds to think of something else. Okay, remember Huntington's disease. So she walks in on him, like in the office. He is like bawling his he's bawling his eyes out. He's bawling his eyes out, like ugly, just like he is crying. And she's like, I wish I just had never gone back, right? That's what she's thinking in his head. And she sees an office that like he's working on, like he had been working on like model planes, like I don't know, Lego adjacent, something like that. And she sees that it's like broken on the floor, and she's like, what happened? He's like, I lost control of my arm, because that's a symptom of the disease. And she's like, oh no, I'm sure it was just something else. And that pissed him off. It pissed him off. Rightfully so. Because why did she say that? She said that she was going to try. He has been saying, I don't want to be with you because you're not going to accept me because of my disease. And here she is denying the fact that he's losing control of himself because he's got an incurable disease. So he said, get out. He said, leave. And it was a whole argument. And then she found out a way to be like, no, not yet. So, we're getting into the thick of it. Finally, right? She's like, she goes upstairs, she cries, and she comes up with an idea. She's like, hey, Eudora left us this play. How about we put on this play and then we can say goodbye? So then Noah is like, okay, fine. You're manipulating me, but fine. So then they're putting on this play, and funnily enough, it's about one person who has like cancer and someone who does not. And they're doing the play together, and of course, when they're acting, they do the whole subtext thing. They're saying they love each other, to stay, and no, I'm not going to stay. They're saying all the things. They're saying all of the things. And AJ has like a plan. She's basically trying to prove to Noah that he needs to accept everything. And then through everything that AJ tries to say through her acting, it doesn't get through to him, and he still leaves her after the last play. Even after she breaks character and says, Noah! And they have this whole thing on stage in front of everybody. And he still leaves her. And then she is there like, she can't believe what the hell has happened. And this is like the best part. Like, these have been like the best moments, and then it just crashes and burns in this unearned moment that he just shows back up. He was like, I just needed to see you leave. I didn't see you leave, and I just couldn't leave you. I came back in, and they're hands in hand smiling, and like that's the end. And then there's like the epilogue, which is 2 years later. Oh, I never really mentioned that we're kind of in like the year 2013-ish. He just comes back, and it's like, really, Noah, after all of that? It was so unearned. I'm like, I roll. Yeah. And let me discuss something. Also, before their last play, they had like last time intimate time. And a lot of the time they have been intimate. Emma has, described it like very fairly, like animalistic, because they are like that, like they're making up for lost time every single time, essentially. Even when they were living together, they had a lot of time to make up, right? It reminded me also her writing of, which is another thing that's questionable. So there's something that I saw, that the way that sex is written is very like patriarchal and like misogynistic, very violent kind of words to describe, right? And the one time it wouldn't really have been that way, like AJ says, or the narrator says, AJ says, I wouldn't describe it. I never am one to use the word making love, right? So it's going to be very sensual, like very slow, very, very sensual kind of intimacy. And she doesn't describe it. She's gung-ho for describing the times that they're really like going at it, but not the time like where it's like more the most emotion than would ever be. They're preparing to say goodbye to each other for the rest of their lives, while he goes and dies and withers away. And AJ doesn't want that. She doesn't want to say goodbye, but she has no other choice. It's the last time that they're ever going to be intimate with each other, and she doesn't describe that scene. She does not describe it. And that just makes me so sad, disappointed, a little bit angry, frustrated, all the things. But yeah, he ends up coming back, and then 2 years later, they're together, married. The epilogue, and that's the end. I am going to wrap this up all fast, just like Emma Brodie wrapped up Into the Blue. Part 4 summary. AJ breaks it off with Brian. AJ and Noah get together. He tries to push her away, but ultimately changes his mind. They get married, work on the Into the Blue sequel. And I just said underwhelming. So yeah, that's Into the Blue by Emma Brodie. I was gonna go like over like some like reviews and like the back of the book, but because this video is so long, I'm not going to do that. I do plan on doing my review and parts for like shorts and stuff, so maybe you'll eventually see that, because knowing that this is 2 hours, I can only imagine how many parts it's gonna be. Like, I might not say everything, but I just might. But a video can only be 3 minutes max, and I'm gonna try to keep it under like a minute, 40 or 45 seconds. So maybe everything doesn't make it in there, but that's it. Thank you for watching. It's been a long time since my last book review, so I am so glad that I got to do this. Finally, I'm currently reading Nightcrawling. I started Nightcrawling. That's gonna be my next review. Probably not gonna be this long because it is better so far. That's it. I've been Kayla, and I hope you to see. I've been Kayla, and I hope to see you again.